There's been some big announcements around VS Code and Copilot in the last couple of weeks. Copilot essentially got exponentially smarter. How does that work? Let's take a look. All right, I've got a project here where I want to add an additional login button for Facebook, but I'm not exactly sure where in the project this login is done because there's like a lot of files in here. Okay, so let's ask Copilot to tell us where in the project this login is being done. And as you can see, it doesn't really know. And that's because it doesn't know everything about my project, and all it can give me is a generic answer. And that's because one of the limitations of these large language models like ChatGPT is that the size of the messages that you can send to the model is limited. We call these tokens. And because of that, it's impossible to send your entire project and all your source code up to the large language model. It's simply too big. And so while GitHub Copilot does a really good job, it only has a partial view of your world, and that can be quite limiting. So we remove that limit. We've added a brand new workspace command here that allows Copilot to search your entire project. And it does this all on your local machine. We get back an answer that shows us everywhere login might be implemented, which is quite a few places. And this is how most real-world projects are. Functionality is just rarely contained all in one file. But with the new workspace command, GitHub Copilot now knows about your whole project and can give you holistic answers. And in addition to knowing about your whole project, all chat in GitHub Copilot is now handled by GPT-4. Okay, so I think this is what I'm looking for this login button, the Moto login component, and it even tells me that there's Twitter login there. So let's click on that to jump directly to that file. So in the Moto login component, I want to add a new button right here below the existing Twitter button. There's a lot of markup here, so I'm not sure exactly what I need and what I don't. So what I'm going to do is open up the quick chat here with Command and Shift I or Control Shift I. And that lets us jump right into a chat window without having to go back and forth to the sidebar. And I'm gonna ask it for a new login button. Okay, nice, it's given us a button, but for GitHub. Let's just go ahead and copy this code in and then we'll iterate. Iteration is key to success with Copilot. So let's open the inline chat here and tell it to make this a Facebook button instead. And here the changes come streaming in real time, so you can watch what Copilot is writing as it writes it. And it gives us a Facebook button. Now, part of the magic of Copilot has always been its ability to anticipate what you're gonna do next. So for instance, I need a Facebook URL here, which is gotten from the configuration file, and it automatically writes that code for me. But even crazier than this is that if I go down to the CSS, and I ask for a new style for that Facebook button, it knows what color to make that button. It knows the color of the Facebook logo. That's nuts. Now, how do I run this? I assume the instructions are in the README, which I could open and ask Copilot about, but Copilot now lets you specify context for your chat, including specific files. So I'm gonna use the #file command here and select the README, and then ask the question about how I run this app. And I will just take this serve command and select run in terminal here and run it. Now, when I do this, I get an error, and it's cryptic, something about glibc. I have no idea what that is, but you'll notice there is a new Copilot icon that you'll see in a lot of places in VS Code. It looks like these little sparkles, so keep your eyes out for it. Now, when we click on this, Copilot looks at the last terminal command and output and gives us an answer about glibc. And we have options. One of them is to upgrade our system, which it does not recommend, but the other one is to use a different version of Node. And as it turns out, I already have NVM installed and I'm using Node 18, so let's take this suggestion and change that to Node 10. And problem solved. Now the project builds, and this new button, it looks great. I just want to tweak it a tad, but we know that typing messages to AI like ChatGPT can feel laborious after a while, especially if you're doing a lot of it. The whole point of coding is to move faster with shortcuts, not type everything that's in your brain, right? But how do you do this with an AI? There is a brand new extension called VS Code Speech, which provides speech-to-text support in VS Code, and it means that we can quite literally talk to Copilot. So watch me bring up the inline chat here and ask it for a new class with some margin and some drop shadow. And then I'm even going to ask it to add that class to the buttons automatically. Check this out. Create a new class which adds some margin and a subtle drop shadow. And then add this class to the 2 login buttons in the HTML above. Copilot creates the new class and it adds that class to the buttons in the markup in both buttons at the correct place. All right, my button looks great and I'm ready to commit this. Now, commit messages are notoriously tedious to write, but since Copilot is your pair programmer, it knows what we've been working on. So there's a Copilot button right here, the sparkles in the commit box, and Copilot will automatically write a good commit message for us. And if that doesn't blow your mind, when we create the PR for this feature, why write a description when Copilot is perfectly capable of doing that as well? And all of this is available in Copilot today. You can use it today. All the links you need are in the video description below. And as always, happy coding.